This is your WWE Monday Night Raw review for August 28th, 2023. I am the Solomonster, coming off of All In on Sunday. Very busy day, very busy weekend. We start anew because we got two pay-per-views coming up this upcoming weekend. We're heading into Labor Day weekend here in the U.S., and WWE comes first on Saturday. AEW has its second pay-per-view in a week on Sunday. But tonight was the go-home edition of Raw, the final episode before Payback this Saturday. And WWE tonight was in Memphis, Tennessee, the home of the King, Jerry the King Lawler, who suffered a stroke back in February. And it was a pretty bad one. I know it affected his speech, among other things, and he wasn't even able to be physically there for the Hall of Fame this year when Andy Kaufman was inducted in. You had to know that it was pretty bad for Lawler. After all the years of him lobbying for Andy Kaufman to be inducted into the Hall of Fame, he finally is, and all he could do was send in a video. I'm sure that was very frustrating for him, and it's got to be very frustrating for someone to have speaking issues, given the fact that he made a career out of running his mouth, cutting promos and doing commentary. So he was having a rough go of it there for a while. He hasn't made a total and complete recovery yet. We haven't really heard a lot about him recently. But during the commercial break, one of the commercial breaks on the show tonight, Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens were out there on stage. And WWE posted the video during the show tonight. They said they went to the back. They were in a bad mood after what had happened on the show. Sami lost to Damian Priest. But then they had a big smile on their face when they went to the back and saw who they saw. And they decided to bring him out in front of the live crowd. And out comes Jerry the King Lawler. His first appearance since having the stroke back in February. Look at the King. Look at the scruff there. King's got a little bit of a beard that he's growing in there. But it was good to see him. It was good to see him with a smile on his face, doing okay, because a stroke can be a very scary thing, obviously. And the fans in Memphis were very happy to see him. He got a very nice reception, as he normally would. So that was a pretty cool moment. That was off the air tonight. The video is up. It's a digital exclusive on WWE's YouTube channel. So you can go ahead and check that out if you would like to do so. But that was a nice surprise for the fans in Memphis tonight. As far as Raw tonight, I thought it was a solid show on the whole. We had some long matches tonight. We had a pair of matches. Actually, the main event didn't quite go 20 minutes, but it was close enough. We had 3 different matches on the show tonight that nearly went 20 minutes. And for one episode of Raw, that's a lot. So there were some long matches. There were some good matches on this go-home show to a pay-per-view that is very cold. Payback feels very cold. There is the potential for there to be some pretty good matches on Saturday, but there is nothing on this show. And part of the problem may be no Bloodline, which I honestly don't mind because we've kind of been on Bloodline overdrive now for so long. It is kind of refreshing, I guess you would say, to not have to focus so heavily on the Bloodline here for one show, at least, and give other people a chance to shine, give other people a chance to go out there and tell their stories and do their thing. But I think what has happened here, because there was no other story built up as well as the Bloodline, that everything else kind of feels a little cold by comparison. Seth Rollins and Shinsuke Nakamura for the world title. Obviously, Roman Reigns is not on this show to defend his championship. The build to Rollins and Nakamura has been, it's been good enough for what they have done to try to get Nakamura over as a credible challenger after just, having him slotted as a mid-card star for so long. He hasn't really done anything in forever. And so now we're supposed to buy him as a championship contender. They're doing the best they can with that to try to get that over. We have Becky and Trish hopefully going to blow off their feud. We're finally getting the Raquel and the Rhea match and so on and so forth. Cody Rhodes is on the show but not in a match. So again, this does not feel like a hot show. going into it. And yes, I do notice, by the way, you don't have to keep telling me. I realized that once I hit the live button, I did realize that we're still working off the all-in slide here. Everyone's like, you got the all-in artwork up. You're still working off Wembley. You're working off Wembley from... Does it really bother you that much? Should we keep that up? Because it's still red. Red works. All right, I'll change it since everybody is so bothered. Everybody is so hot and bothered by it. You got to have the Monday Night Raw artwork. I'll give you the Monday Night... There you go, all right? Now you can keep your mouth shut. This is going to end up on Botchamania now. This is like Trish Stratus throwing a chair into the ring in the main event and hitting Zoey Stark in the head. That really happened. Trish Stratus threw a chair into the... Trish Stratus threw a chair into the ring and actually hit Zoey Stark by accident. She did not intend to do that. Hit her in the head, which was actually one of the funnier moments of the night. Just got hit by Bree Mode. El Mace dropping a Bree Mode on me. Thank you, brother. Appreciate that. Look at everybody yelling at me. Do you know how much work I've been doing over these last 5 days? You got to cut me some slack here. I'm only half awake. But yeah, poor Zoey. She sold it well. She kind of passed it off well. Hopefully she's okay. She's all right. She's all right. She wrestled an entire match after that. She's okay. But yes, the main event was Becky Lynch and Zoey Stark in a Falls Count Anywhere match. And at the very end of the show, Becky, of course, picks up the win because Becky was not going to lose going into her cage match on Saturday. And when the match was over, Becky Lynch sat on top of one of the equipment cases in the crowd, and she pulled off her Bray Wyatt armband, and she broke down. And it was a very emotional moment. You could tell it was difficult for her probably to even be out there in the first place, in all honesty. But she pulled off the armband, and she held it up in the air and was crying, and it was just one of those moments. You know, that's tough to watch because she knew him well. She was friendly with him. Seth, same thing. Many people on this roster were. And to have to go out there under these circumstances, it's only been a few days. Hasn't even been a full week yet. The man hasn't even been laid to rest. It's a tough thing. It's a tough thing for everybody involved. So, and I am going to have, by the way, unfortunately, there is more news as far as Bray is concerned, some more details about exactly what happened. So we'll talk about that a little bit later on. But we'll cover this entire show. We'll get to it from start to finish. Subscribe. We are closing in very soon on 75,000 subscribers here on this channel. We've picked up a lot of new subs over the past five or 6 days or so. Especially yesterday during All In, which you guys blew me away yesterday. I can't say enough. I can't thank you guys enough for all the love yesterday on the stream, including the sign in the crowd at Wembley and then all the support on the stream. But again, hit that subscribe button, hit that like button as well. 400 likes is the goal for us to Be the Booker later on here in this stream. Super chats are open. Hey, Peter Cordieri dropped a $50 Gunther bomb. So you didn't see Gunther on stream on your screens, but I did as I was getting my notes and getting my slides, although except apparently I missed the most important one. Getting everything set up, and then I hear Gunther's voice. I thought I was listening to the voice of God. I'm like, where's that coming from? I said, oh, it's coming from my OBS. So Peter, thank you for the 50 bomb before I went live tonight. Raw opened with Sami Zayn one-on-one with Damian Priest of the Judgment Day, two men who are very familiar with each other because we have seen them in the ring many times over the last few months, usually in a tag team situation. So I can appreciate the fact that we didn't get the Judgment Day against Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn in the main event tonight. That was good. We got a singles match to open the show instead. But they did make the announcement that this Saturday at Payback, it will be Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn defending their undisputed tag team titles against Are you with me now? The Judgment Day. So they're saving it for Saturday. That's why we didn't get it on the show tonight. They're going to give it to us on the pay-per-view. And it's going to be for the tag team titles. Zayn tried to dive early on. Priest, though, caught him on the floor. He dropped him on top of the announce desk with a flatliner. That took us into the first break of the night. After that, Zayn hit a sunset flip sit-out powerbomb from the top for 2. Hey, Jen, thank you for the sub. Followed by a flip dive out onto the floor. Hit the Blue Thunder Bomb for 2. Zayn slipped out of a Razor's Edge attempt, and he hit an exploder into the corner. As he was setting up for the Haluva kick, Sami Zayn is tripped up by J.D. McDonough, who suddenly appeared at ringside. Zayn turned his attention to McDonough, and when he turned back around, Priest hit him with the South of Heaven choke slam, and he pinned one half of the tag team champions. When the match was over, McDonough walked over to Priest to celebrate with him this big win. Priest wanted nothing to do with this man, and he shoved him on his ass, and he told him, I don't need your help, I don't want your help. So he went and he left. In the ring, McDonough turned around. Kevin Owens was there waiting for him, and he ate a stunner. He staggered over into the corner. Sami Zayn came in with the Haluva kick and put him down with the kick. So it furthered the tension between McDonough and Priest. Priest has no love lost for this man. He doesn't like him. It furthered that issue. He wants this man to have nothing to do with the Judgment Day. And he did pin Sami, but it was the typical protective booking. Okay, Damian Priest pins Sami Zayn here, one half of the tag team champions. But in the end here, when this segment was over, Sami Zayn had his arm raised by Kevin Owens, and they played his music as if he had won. So it's not a win that means anything for Damian Priest. What it does is it gives the Judgment Day some momentum going into their tag team title match on Saturday. That's the purpose of what they did here. Drew McIntyre was shown backstage. He was standing there holding a photograph in his hand. We could not see what he was looking at. Akira Tozawa showed up. He said he looked at the photo and said, oh, it looks great. And he made a very quick exit. Matt Riddle showed up. He asked Drew what he thought. And at that point, McIntyre turned the photo around. It was a photo of Drew in special gear. It was green trunks that said bro on the front. Riddle said every team has matching gear. And he said that they could get matching kilts if that's what Drew wanted. Drew smiled. He was about to just walk the fuck away from this. And Riddle stopped him, and he suggested that they get ringside seats for the next match, so they could do some scouting, because the next match was going to be the New Day against the Viking Raiders. Then we got a video package to promote the women's world title match at Payback between Rhea Ripley and Raquel Rodriguez, with Raquel in the video saying she's going to cut Rhea. I should just end it right there. She's going to cut her. No, she's going to cut her down to size. She's going to shank Rhea Ripley at Payback, hence the name of the pay-per-view. You want to get payback on somebody, I can't think of a better way to get payback than that, right? Rhea's the one who took out her knee, so she's going to show up at Payback. And hey, Dominic knows a thing about shanking, right? He was in the big house for a while. He doesn't like to talk about it, though. Still traumatized by the experience. I think he shared a cell with Big Ben. So they played LA Knight's music. This was actually one of the more enjoyable segments on the show. I can't even believe I'm about to say this, but it involved The Miz. It was one of the better segments on the show. They played LA Knight's music. People weren't expecting it. So they all rose to their feet because they actually thought he was there. Until they saw that it was The Miz, who came out dressed up as LA Knight. He had the jeans, he had the vest, he had LA Knight sunglasses with the LA Knight logo on each of the lenses. Miz got into the ring. So basically what we had here, he was cosplaying as the man that he says cosplays as other stars. So is there a word for this? What do you call a cosplay of a cosplay? That's basically a copy of a copy. Is there a word for this? But he gets in the ring and he's doing the LA Knight voice and he's saying, let me talk to you. And he's doing the yeah over and over again. He's continued to impersonate LA Knight. Then he went back and forth between what's and yes and what's and yes. And I said, please don't give them any fucking ideas. He said it takes more than a catchphrase. Then he got serious. He said it takes more than a catchphrase to gain the support of the fans. And he grabbed a bag from the corner that he brought to the ring with him. He said it contained free LA Knight t-shirts. But we get some suggestions here. Redundant is one word. Lame is another word. Boring booking. Okay. All right. Oxymoron. These are not bad. These are not bad suggestions. Doppelganger. I like that. People have called me a doppelganger before for Orange Cassidy. See, I say that he's a doppelganger for me. A ripoff. Bootleg Xerox. Not bad. Not bad. So he had a bag with him that had LA Knight t-shirts. He said, if you want a free LA Knight t-shirt, give me a hell. And then he stopped himself. And he said, I mean, let me hear you say yeah. So he played to the crowd. He teased tossing them a t-shirt. Instead, he spiked it on the ground instead. So then Miz took off his vest. He took the chain off from around his neck. He ripped his shirt off like Hulk Hogan did when he main evented at Wembley Stadium. And he called the fans pathetic. He said that they will cheer anything, and that's why their support means nothing. He said anyone can be LA Knight and can pander, and he called it vanilla. He said that he doesn't do catchphrases, which is bullshit. He said that when he calls himself awesome, it's the truth. He says it's not a catchphrase, it is reality. He will expose LA Knight at Payback, and then party's over. He said the fans won't cheer him anymore because they don't cheer losers. And he said when the dust settles, with everybody, not only saying, but immortalizing. Whose game is it? He said M-I-Z. And then he said, yeah, to close out the segment. I thought that was well done. I didn't really do it justice here. I think you should go back and watch it for yourself. But it was well done for what they were going for here. I thought it was fairly amusing. I especially like the part where he almost lapsed into Austin's "Give me a hell yeah," and then he caught himself and he stopped himself and he just did the yeah. So we can add LA Knight now to the list of impersonations that Miz has done over the years. We have now seen Miz impersonate LA Knight, John Cena, and The Rock. And actually, when he impersonated John Cena, that was going back to the WrestleMania 33 build. It was him playing John Cena and Maurice playing Nikki Bella. I remember there were a couple of good segments that they did too heading into that WrestleMania. It was better than the WrestleMania match itself. So much for that proposal. Now that I think about the John Cena Nikki Bella proposal, boy, that didn't age well, did it? So yeah, I only hope that he didn't give the fans any ideas going back and forth with the yeah and the what and the yeah and the what. So let's hope that doesn't catch on. But there was no LA Knight on the show. Only the LA Knight fraud. We had the New Day against the Viking Raiders. McIntyre and Riddle, they got their own entrance so they could sit ringside to watch the match. They came back from commercial. And I guess Michael Cole had made a comment. I was probably half paying attention because half the time I'm not paying attention to the commentary anyway. Although I do like Michael Cole and Wade Barrett together. It's just that a lot of the stuff they have them saying is just usually nonsense. But they come back from commercial and Michael Cole said that he was corrected during the break after asking the question earlier if anyone has ever worn antlers to the ring, like Valhalla does, because when Valhalla comes to the ring with the Vikings, she has these antlers on her head, as she does her Max the Impaler cosplay. And so anyway, he said he had asked that question, and he said he was told, yes, the Barbarian did, which is true. The Barbarian, back in the day, wore antlers to the ring. That was when Bobby Heenan used to manage the Barbarian. I was not expecting a Barbarian reference here on this show tonight. I'll add another name to the list. And honestly, I'm kind of surprised Wade Barrett didn't come up with this one because it's his old League of Nations stablemate, Sheamus. when Sheamus was king of the ring. Remember the antlers? I think they were growing out of the crown on his head. He had fucking antlers on his head. What a run that was. King Sheamus. Talk about a waste of a year of the man's career. Sheamus had antlers on his head too. I'm surprised he didn't mention that. So Kingston was isolated here for a pretty long stretch. He avoided a splash from Ivar. He made the hot tag. Woods got a nice little flurry on both Vikings. Turned Ivar inside out with his honor roll clothesline. Eric tagged in. He put Woods down with a full Nelson slam onto his knee. And for the first time of many times on this show here in Memphis, we got chants from the crowd of, "Whoop that trick." That'll be a super chat. Whoop that trick. That's what we heard all night long. That's how you knew we were in Memphis. That's like the mating call of all the Grizzlies fans in Memphis. So this is the first time that we heard "whoop that trick" as they were trying to rally Xavier Woods. Contrary to what I had two people say to me, it was not a reference to Trick Williams on NXT. Trick Williams is very popular in NXT. This had nothing to do with Trick Williams. This has everything to do with it being in Memphis. Whoop that trick. That's all I was doing all day long on Twitter. All the stupid messages I was getting from all the fucking brain-dead morons on there. I was whooping tricks all day long. I'm exhausted now. Surprised I stayed awake for this. So a little while later, Ivar ducked Kingston's trouble in paradise. Both men ended up at ringside. Kingston dove at Ivar, who caught him and dropped him on the ring steps. Ivar picked up Kingston, turned around, slammed him onto McIntyre and Riddle at ringside. McIntyre tossed one of the giant announce chairs into the ring. Grabbed another one. He threw it in the general direction of Ivar, who avoided it, and the chair instead struck Xavier Woods. Meanwhile, in the ring, the Raiders hit Ragnarok on Kofi Kingston, and Eric pinned him to win the match. This was the first of several matches on this show that went almost 20 minutes. I think this went about 17. So it was a long match. When it was over, McIntyre went over to go check on Woods. He was apologizing to Kofi. He was trying to explain that it was a mistake. He didn't mean to hit him with the chair. After that, we went to the back where the Judgment Day were gathered in the backstage area, and Finn Balor was given the business to Damian Priest about what? He told Priest that they needed to get on the same page for their tag team title match at Payback. Priest was hot. He said he agrees they do need to focus, but on the people who matter. And one of the people who do not matter is JD McDonough. He is sick of this guy. He snapped back at Balor until finally Rhea Ripley got angry and she cut him off. She said the only members of the Judgment Day who were handling business right now were her and Dominic. She's the women's champion. Dominic is the North American champion. They're pulling their weight. The other two, all they're doing is bickering and bitching every single week. She said if they don't all walk out of Payback with gold, then there's going to be some changes around here. And she left, and then Priest stared at Balor, and he held up his Money in the Bank briefcase, and he said he would have no problem winning gold. Now, if Rhea Ripley had said that if the Judgment Day doesn't walk out of Payback with gold, there's going to be changes around here, I would have said, okay, I think Priest is cashing in on Seth Rollins. But the way that she phrased it, she said, if all the members of the Judgment Day don't leave with gold, we're going to have to start making some changes. So that means tag team titles, either they win them or they don't. And then him holding up the briefcase, I mean, they were basically throwing it in your face, which means they're not going to do it. But had they phrased it differently, and if they didn't tease it at the very end like they did there, they would have had me thinking that maybe we would have gotten a cash-in on Saturday. Now I don't think we're getting a cash-in. So then after a commercial break, we got the excellent video package, the Bray Wyatt tribute that they aired on SmackDown on Friday night. And when it was over, they cut back live in the arena where the fans were. You saw all the fireflies. The lights were dimmed. You saw all the fireflies lit up in the crowd. And they were playing his original Wyatt family theme song. And they showed the empty rocking chair sitting on stage with the spotlight on it as they faded to black, which I said on Friday that was a very nice moment. And I wasn't expecting them to do that again here on this show. So when they showed the rocking chair and they had the music playing, it was just one of those like, wow. It's one of those moments where, again, it hits you like, okay, he's gone. He's not here anymore. Now, I said I had more news on Bray. This broke earlier in the afternoon, and then all the wrestling sites picked up on it. So you may have already heard by now, but many of you probably have not. TMZ posted new details about the nature of what happened with Bray Wyatt this past Thursday. They reported that he died in his sleep while taking a nap. It says that he experienced a series of heart complications in the months leading up to his death, and a doctor-recommended heart defibrillator was not with him when they found him. This is according to law enforcement records. Wyatt, real name Wyndham Rotunda, told his girlfriend. Now, they say girlfriend in the article. I'm pretty sure they were engaged. So I think JoJo is his fiance technically. But they refer to her here in the news report as his girlfriend. Told his girlfriend that he was going to take a nap on Thursday, and she became concerned when she heard his alarm going off about an hour later without stopping. So the alarm went off. Nobody, he wasn't turning it off. She got concerned, and she came to the room. And the report says that he was discovered in his bed, not breathing. He was turning blue. Wyndham's girlfriend, again, I think fiance, called 911 as her mother attempted CPR, but he was later pronounced dead at the hospital. Cops spoke with Wyndham's immediate family members who said that he had COVID back in March, which, as far as the timeline is concerned, that's when WWE pulled him from television. They were starting to promote his WrestleMania match with Bobby Lashley, and that's around the time that he vanished without any explanation, and the match never happened. So according to family members, he developed or contracted COVID in March, and he developed heart complications, causing him to have, quote, a weak lower part of his heart. In fact, just a week before he died, Wyndham was hospitalized for a heart issue. He had a follow-up appointment with doctors the morning that he died, and he was advised to continue wearing an external heart defibrillator, which is a device that is designed to treat people experiencing sudden cardiac arrest, which sounds very similar to what Triple H had implanted in his chest after he had his near-death experience. But this, and I don't know if this is exactly the same thing or just something similar, this is external. It says in the story, it is not known if the device would have saved his life for sure. Investigators determined Wyndham was not wearing the defib at the time of his death. They later located it inside his vehicle, parked in the driveway. And so that is the latest update on Bray Wyatt's passing. It's just, you hear the details of that, and it's just tragic all around, the way that the whole thing unfolded. And it does sound like Bray was not close to making a comeback soon. That flies in the face of the reports that we were hearing weeks ago at the beginning of the month that indicated he was doing better. And other people have said that he it was believed that he was doing better. But, some of the reports went one step further and suggested that they were preparing for a possible return as soon as next month. But he had not been cleared. They did make that clear, that he had not yet been medically cleared. But it sounded very hopeful, that he might be, that he was in a better place and he might possibly be able to get medically cleared in these next several weeks. But then you hear about this, and I don't know, to me, it doesn't sound that way at all if he was still having heart issues and heart complications. The one thing I will say, though, because after the story broke earlier, there were people obviously discussing it on social media and talking about it and kind of assigning blame. Like, oh, why didn't he have the device with him? And maybe it would have saved his life. Maybe yes, maybe no. We don't know that. I would caution anybody, this is not a situation where one should be assigning blame. Because you don't know the circumstances around why he did or did not use it at that time. Look, I mean, it says in the story that he had a follow-up appointment with his doctor that morning. For all we know, he went home, he went to go take a nap, he forgot. He forgot he left it in his car. Like, we don't know. So let's not start assigning blame here. I don't think that's necessary. But one note that I did pick up from Sean Ross Sapp of Fightful, he tweeted this out during the show tonight. He said that there may be some absences on AEW Dynamite either this week or next week, whenever they are. Tony Khan offered the show off to anyone on the AEW roster who would like to attend Bray Wyatt's services. So I don't know if that means that his services are this Wednesday or it could be next Wednesday. But apparently he has let the members of the AEW roster know that anybody who wants to fly out to attend his services will be able to do so, even if that means they have to miss Dynamite, which I think is it's a very nice gesture on his part. So, and I'm sure there'll be more that is said about that and more tributes from people in the days and weeks to come. But that is the latest update on the passing of Bray Wyatt. Lots of tributes throughout the show tonight. Armbands and signs in the crowd, and obviously the video they played. So this is one that's going to stick with a lot of people for quite some time. Now, backstage, Kofi Kingston was shown exiting the trainer's room, and when he walked out of the room, he was greeted by Matt Riddle and Drew McIntyre, who wanted to know how Xavier Woods was. Kingston said that Woods would be okay. McIntyre again tried to apologize, and Kofi cut him off and said, look, I know you weren't trying to do any cheap shots like that on purpose. That's not how you roll. And he said Woods knows that too. McIntyre was pissed off about what the Vikings did, and he said that he would take them out next week, and he would not want to tag in. And then he walked off, and Kingston wasn't sure what he meant by that. Riddle was all excited because he took that to mean that they were going to be tag team partners again next week. And as we found out later in the show, they are going to be tag team partners. It's going to be a tornado tag team match, which basically is no rules. Everybody can just be in the ring at the same time, and they fight. I think we just had a tornado match on AEW television last week. Was it the I think it was Darby and Nick Wayne against Swerve and AR Fox. I think that was a tornado match. So then we had the Intercontinental Champion Gunther, one of the more dominant heels on the WWE roster, really one of the most dominant faces on the entire roster. Next to Roman Reigns, find me a more dominant champion in this company. He stood up on the announce table, which is where he cuts all of his promos now, and I like that, just because it's something different. People have asked, why is he on the announce desk? Why can't he just get in the ring? Because he wants your attention. He wants all eyes on him. Everybody else stands in the ring. Everybody already does that. He's going to stand on top of the announce desk. Good for him. He's trying something different. He said that Chad Gable made history last week by becoming the first man to beat him in more than 500 days, and he did so by countout in a championship match. He said Gable gained a victory, but in reality, he won nothing because he is still the Intercontinental Champion. But the one thing that Gable did do was he pissed him off. And Gunther, he fired up and said that now Gable has his attention. And that's the story they have been telling throughout this entire process. From the time they did the 5-minute challenge to the countout win on the show last week, they've been building to this where, Gunther stands there and says, all right, you wanted my attention, now you've got my attention. He has gotten increasingly frustrated with this guy. It's the one guy he has not been able to squash. So as he said here, now he has his attention. He announced that Gable would get a rematch for the IC title next week on Monday Night Raw. But Gable would not win next week, and he would not win tonight against his best man, Ludwig Kaiser. Gable interrupted. He had Otis and Maxine Dupree with him. And Gable said that Gunther has been on the main roster for almost 2 years now, and no man has been able to defeat him until last week. And he said that he won in 10 seconds, referring to the countout last week. And next week, he would win the title with a 3 count. And Gable told Kaiser to get in the ring so that he could cook him up Memphis style. And as Kaiser got in the ring for the second time on this show, we had more chance of whoop that trick. Boy, these people really love chanting that, don't they? All these Memphis people. They were in unison, whooping that trick all night long. And what was funny also about it is every time they did it, the announcers struggled very hard not to acknowledge it. They were clearly told not to acknowledge it. At least during this segment, they didn't. I don't remember them acknowledging it any of the other moments either. So they tried to just pretend like it wasn't happening, and they didn't acknowledge it. But 11 more days. We have 11 more days. If Gunther can go 11 more days and make it to next Friday, he will pass the Honky Tonk Man on the all-time list as the longest reigning Intercontinental Champion of all time. This close to breaking the record. As far as them not doing it at Payback, that surprised me. I was not expecting that. I'm not a huge fan of that because I would much rather get the match on a pay-per-view on Peacock where there are no commercial interruptions. Let them go out there for at least 15 minutes, preferably maybe 20. But let them go out there for 15 or 20 minutes, no commercials, no Raw rolls on. Let them go out there, tell their story, and do their thing. You can't do that on television as well because you have the constant interruption, especially if you have a longer match. We had some long matches on the show tonight. You can have 2 or 3 commercial breaks in the middle of a match. And it really does ruin sometimes the flow of a match. Sometimes it affects certain matches more than others. But I would much rather have this as a longer match. And the reality is, Triple H, the way he books these PLEs, and it was the same thing when he did the NXT TakeOver shows, he likes to keep them very tight. 6 probably is the number that he likes to keep things at. You look at the card here for Payback coming up this weekend. Seth Rollins against Shinsuke Nakamura for the World Heavyweight title. Rhea Ripley against Raquel Rodriguez for the Women's Championship. LA Knight is going one-on-one with The Miz. Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn are defending the tag titles against Finn Balor and Damian Priest. Austin Theory is challenging Rey Mysterio for the United States Championship. And Cody Rhodes isn't challenging anybody, but he's going to be talking to Grayson Waller on the Grayson Waller effect. That's a pretty full card. And the reality is there's 6 matches already. So if they were to add Gunther and Chad Gable to the show, they're not getting 20 minutes. Maybe they would get 15. Even that might be a stretch. They might get 12. So if that's the case, and they're not going to get a long period of time, then you know what? They're better off probably being on TV, if that's the case. And here's the other thing. Here's the other reason why I think maybe they're doing this on TV instead. And I mentioned this on Sunday. Or Saturday, because I did the show a day early. Their segment on the show last week, their match, was the highest rated quarter hour of the night on Monday Night Raw. When their segment came to an end, the numbers dropped off. So they peaked with Gunther and Gable last week. So WWE probably looks at this and goes, all right, we got a full card on Saturday as it is. And these guys drew some numbers last week. So let's run it back again and we'll put it on TV next week. I would not at all be shocked if that was part of the play here. And why they're saving it for USA instead of doing it on Peacock. So if they insist on doing the match on television, here's what I say. They're doing it on Raw. Give them 25 minutes. 25 minutes, give them the main event. We had Becky Lynch and Zoey Stark in the Raw main event tonight. Okay, you can have an Intercontinental Championship defense of this magnitude, where he's this close to breaking the record. If he beats Chad Gable next week, he will break the record. So there's something tangible on the line here. Do Gunther and Gable IC title main event next week on Monday Night Raw. Give them 25 minutes and let them go out there and tear the house down. If that's what they're going to do, if they're going to put it on TV, I want that to be the main event. There's no reason for that not to be the main event. Even more so if Chad Gable is going to win the championship. And I do think that Gable has a pretty decent chance of winning the title next week. I mean, I would have Gunther break the record. But the way they're setting this up, especially, this next segment I'm about to talk about here, the way it ended with Gunther standing tall, it sure looks like Chad Gable may have a fighting chance next week. It is not a foregone conclusion that he is going to lose and they're just going to break the record and he has no chance of winning. I don't think that Chad Gable has no chance of winning. He definitely could win. But we have this next segment here, which was Chad Gable going one-on-one with Ludwig Kaiser. They went to a commercial 45 seconds into the match. 45 seconds into the match. They better not be going to commercial 45 seconds into this match next week. Gable hit a cannonball from the apron. That took them into the break. They went to a second break after Kaiser knocked Gable off the top rope and followed with a running uppercut outside the ring. Kaiser maintained control after the break. He hit a rolling fireman's carry, or a Kaiser roll, you might say. And then he hit a PK. Gable came back with a neck breaker and a suplex before wiping out Kaiser and Vinci with a moonsault on the floor. Gable hit a Chaos Theory suplex. He had the match won until Giovanni Vinci ran in. He broke up the fall. That caused the disqualification. Otis came in. He suplexed Vinci. Kaiser, though, attacked him. Two of them double-teamed Otis before putting the boots to Chad Gable. So Gunther now marches into the ring, and he is setting up to deliver a powerbomb to Chad Gable. Picks him up, goes for the powerbomb, and Gable lands on his feet, counters into an ankle lock. Kaiser and Vinci, they decked Gable. They started stomping away at him. Gunther's pissed off now. He pushes Vinci away. He pushes Kaiser away, and he delivers a powerbomb to leave Chad Gable laying, holding the Intercontinental title up high, standing over his body to end the segment. They gave these two guys, they gave Gable and Kaiser here in this match 18 minutes. They gave them even more time than McIntyre and Riddle, New Day and the Vikings got earlier on. They gave them another minute or two. So almost 20 minutes they gave these two guys. I am very happy that we have had the chance to see a little bit more recently, especially in singles matches, of Kaiser. And obviously we're getting to see more of Chad Gable. He's getting a little mini push right now. They gave a lot of time to the tag match, but this was better. This was the better of the two matches. Like I said, it is not a guarantee. It is not written in stone that Gunther is going to beat Chad Gable next week. They could go for the feel-good moment on Labor Day after building it up for so many weeks, and they could have Chad Gable upset of the year, right? Which is what it would be, and take the Intercontinental Championship from Gunther only days away from him breaking the record because, well, people wouldn't be expecting it. So let's shock them and give them the feel-good moment. And it would be a fantastic moment. But I think they're so close to this record. Now, 6 months ago, I would have said, I don't give a shit about the record. If it made sense for him to drop the title, then have him drop the title. I thought he should have dropped it to Sheamus at WrestleMania. The triple threat match they did with Gunther, McIntyre, and Sheamus should have won the Intercontinental title. I stand by that. But now here we are. We're going to be less than a week away. They're getting to the 1 yard line. You're going to spike the ball. You're going to fumble the ball at the 1 yard line. You may as well just go over the line into the end zone. You're so close. You're already right there. Right? They love their records. So I would have him go ahead. I would have him break the record. I will tell you this. I would keep an eye on next week for Maxine Dupree, because they started that story many weeks ago, and it feels like it went nowhere, but I feel like they didn't start that for no reason, where Ludwig Kaiser was kind of flirting with her, he was coming on to her, she didn't express any great interest in him, and she even smacked him once, as I recall. But they started that little side story, and I can't shake this feeling that the end result of that is going to be Maxine costing Gable the championship and aligning with Imperium and leaving the Alpha Academy. And if they're going to do that, it could be next week. Gable has the match won. Maxine does the turn, the shocking turn. She costs him the match. Gunther retains. He goes on to break the record. You could always rematch them again later on and then have Gable win the belt. Maybe with a stipulation, keeping everybody away from the ring, and then he wins it after he's already broken the record. Because I still think Chad Gable would be a fine choice to beat Gunther, to be the one to end his reign as champion. I just wouldn't do it next week. But that's me. But I would keep an eye on Maxine. I don't trust her. Might be some heartbreak coming up for Alpha Academy next Monday. They did a quick tribute video for Bob Barker, who also passed away. I feel like everybody passed away last week, except those of us here in this chat. They did a quick tribute video for Bob Barker, 99 years old. Boy, you talk about making it to the 1-yard line. You couldn't give him just a few more months. He would have turned 100 years old in December. It's only 3 months away. But he lived a full life, 99 years old. God bless him. They showed clips from his night as the guest host many years ago of Monday Night Raw, the greatest celebrity guest host they ever had on Monday Night Raw. He even got a Slammy Award for it. And by the way, they conveniently omitted Chris Jericho from all of the footage that they show, which the interaction between Bob Barker and Chris Jericho was the best part of Bob Barker's appearance on that episode of Raw. Did not show any of the clips. They cut all of those clips. How very petty of them. How very petty of them to leave out the best footage from his appearance that night. So we have the World Heavyweight Champion Seth Rollins out to the ring next to address his opponent at Payback. He'll be defending the title against Shinsuke Nakamura. This image right here was one of those images tonight that hits pretty hard. He was in the ring. You see the Wyndham armband, but look at the side plate on Seth's World Heavyweight title. I don't know if it was just the one side plate or if he had the same one on the left side. But there you see the Fiend side plate on the World Heavyweight title belt. And I don't know if that is the exact same side plate that Bray had when he had the Universal title, because this is a completely different title. And this one has the gold in it, like the World Heavyweight title, and Bray never held this belt. So this may have been custom made. I'm not sure. But it may have been the previous plate when he was Universal Champion too. I'm not sure. But wearing the Fiend side plate on the World Heavyweight title, I thought that was very cool. And Rollins kicked us off here by saying Yowie Wowie and welcoming us to Monday Night Rollins. He said that Nakamura should give him what he wants. Give me what I want. By coming out here and saying whatever it is that he has to say, he should say it to his face, like Alex Riley. Say it to my face. Rollins waited. Nakamura did not come out. So Rollins said, well, maybe I should just go down to Beale Street and pour myself a stiff drink and let the fans sing my song all night long. He made a crack in here somewhere about how everybody sings my song now. They don't sing your song no more. So then we got a video that popped up on the Tron that showed Nakamura training. It looked like, I think he was doing some kickboxing maybe, or kicking one of the big pads. They had subtitles again. He spoke in Japanese about destroying Rollins. He said that he would break him. I will break you. And he won't even be able to walk his daughter down the aisle. And Nakamura said that Rollins' body has betrayed him and he is going to put him out of his misery. So they cut back to the ring. Rollins, he takes his shades off. He asks, if that's it? Is that all we're getting? We're getting a video? We're not getting anything else? He says, you know what I want to know? I want to know what happened to the Shinsuke Nakamura who headlined the Tokyo Dome. Well, I'll tell you right now, that Shinsuke Nakamura, he retired. He retired many years ago. He's been gone for a long time. We haven't seen that Nakamura. I could give you that answer. Where's the Nakamura who headlined the Tokyo Dome? Where is the Nakamura who lit the world on fire when he came to NXT? He said that he would have given Nakamura the shirt off of his back a month ago. Rollins said it's the same back that's broken in 2 places, but it did not stand in the way of him becoming the World Heavyweight Champion, nor would it stand in the way of him beating Nakamura's ass on Saturday. Rollins said that he wouldn't stop until somebody pulls him off of Nakamura. Nakamura suddenly appeared in the ring from behind. He delivered what looked like a Kinshasa from behind to the back of Rollins' neck. He then cradled Rollins' head in his arms and he whispered at him. He said, "I told you to watch your back." And then he sat Rollins up on the mat and then he delivered a knockout kick. Rollins went down. So they've tried. They've tried with Nakamura to heat him up over these last several weeks and to try to make him a credible, believable challenger when he has not challenged for a world championship in years in this company. Now they want us to look to him as a potential future world heavyweight champion when they positioned him as a mid-card player for an extended period of time. I think these two will have a good match on Saturday. I have no expectation whatsoever that Nakamura is going to win the world heavyweight title. They have not convinced me that there is even a remote, well, there's always a remote possibility, but a realistic possibility of him walking out with that title. It would have to be a situation where Rollins is so legitimately hurt that they're going to take the title off of him, give Nakamura a brief run with it, and transition it over to Cody Rhodes or somebody else. I don't want to see that. And I don't think that's what's going to happen. Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens, they delivered a promo from their locker room. Zayn said that he's tired because no matter how many times they beat up the Judgment Day, they always find a way to come back and get these cheap wins. Zayn said they could do this one more time. Why not? I've already lost track. I've lost count. Even though I listed all of them last week at the beginning of the stream. I went back and I listed all of the Raw main events that we have seen these different variations of the same match over and over again. So I have my notes from last week are saved somewhere. But I don't know off the top of my head how many fucking matches these guys have had together. So, of course, why not do it one more time? But he told Kevin Owens to go ahead and explain how it's going to be this time. And Owens said that they're sick of this. He went to Adam Pearce. Owens said that it will be a Steel City street fight in Pittsburgh this coming Saturday. No rules. Anything goes, or as I call it, an AEW-style match. Owens said a lot of crazy things have happened in Pittsburgh. He once got thrown off of a cage through the announce table. And he said that's nothing compared to what they're going to do to the Judgment Day. That, by the way, was Extreme Rules. That's what he was referring to. Extreme Rules 2018, his match against Braun Strowman. Tommaso Ciampa against Big Bronson Reed. Ciampa was making his entrance. Reed ran out from behind and clobbered him. During the match, Ciampa hit an air raid crash for a near fall, which was pretty cool. And they talked about on commentary how Ciampa is deceptively strong. He struggled at first, and then the second time he got Reed up on his shoulders, that got a reaction from the crowd. A lot of things in this match did not get a big reaction. That spot got a reaction, and Reed kicked out. Reed followed that with a running sit-out powerbomb for 2. He then knocked Ciampa out of the ring, and Ciampa, though, came back with a Widow's Bell and a running knee for 2. Ciampa followed moments later with a crucifix bomb into a pin, and he picked up the win. When Reed went over, because he took this big-ass, but he didn't just fall backwards. Like, Ciampa went for this crucifix bomb, and Reed got the little jump up into the air, and he went all the way back. And he's a big boy. So all of his weight, all of his mass, over-rotated. And Ciampa was struggling to make sure he had his shoulders down. And then it ended up where Reed was kind of just laid flat. The referee started counting, even though there was about a second there where Ciampa really wasn't covering him. And then he just kind of covered his body, and the referee finished the count. So the finish looked terrible as far as the count. The crucifix bomb itself was fine, but then once he over-rotated, everything just sort of fell apart for the 3 count. So that part of it didn't look good. But on a night where we had a bunch of long matches, this was not one of them. This went less than 5 minutes. It was good for the time it lasted. It just didn't last nearly long enough to really be much of anything. And I don't know what the plan is with Bronson Reed. Frankly, I'm not sure what the plan is with Tommaso Ciampa. I know what the plan should be, but there's still no Johnny Gargano on this show, We haven't seen Dexter Lumis in months. I assume they're holding him out until Johnny is ready to come back, and then they're going to do whatever it is they're going to do with him and Candice and Indy and Dexter. And Ciampa should be a part of that. But I guess Gargano is still not cleared, or else we would have seen him by now. I don't know what's going on with Johnny Gargano. So it feels like Ciampa is in a holding pattern, and Reed, I don't know that he's in any kind of pattern. There's no real direction for him on this show. He was hitting those tsunamis every week when we would see him on TV, and it was actually getting over. So it's tough, though, when you have no direction for this guy. And, again, you're inconsistent with how often you see him on TV, and he's just having these random matches, and he's not really attached to anybody. I mean, he's been in the ring with Ciampa before, but it still feels like there's no real direction for it. So he lost here. Okay, they wanted to give Ciampa the win. I get that. I hope they have some kind of a plan. I know Triple H likes him. He's the one who brought him back. He's the one who advocated for Bronson Reed, but it doesn't seem like he has any plan for him. He needs to come up with one. Rhea Ripley and Dominic Mysterio were out to the ring next. They cut to the crowd and they showed us the NXT Women's Champion. Tiffany Stratton was on hand tonight as a special guest. Ripley remembered Raquel claiming that in that promo earlier in the show, she made the comment that she would cut Rhea down to size. And Rhea said that was cute, coming from someone who had to play up an injury to pull one over on her. She said that she wasn't going to run through her accomplishments for all of us because it would simply take too long. She said the championship around her waist proved everything. She said Rodriguez is big, she's tough, she's strong, she's good. Put your opponent over. Don't break them down. Don't talk about how your opponent sucks and can't measure up to you. She's building Raquel up and saying, look, you're big, you're tough, you're strong. You may be my toughest competition to date, but you're not going to beat me. You can't beat me. I'm the champion, not you. But she built her up first before, getting to that part. She said Raquel can talk all she wants to. She will be the one who walks out of Payback as the champion. So Raquel made her entrance straight to the ring. They fought. Rodriguez hit a corner splash and a fallaway slam, and Ripley rolled out of the ring, and Dominic sort of snuck up behind Raquel. She saw it coming, and as she turned and Dom was begging off, Ripley got back into the ring. She went for Riptide. Raquel blocked it, hip tossed her over, and then she clotheslined Rhea, and Rhea rolled out to the floor to join Dominic. So this was very basic stuff here. This was nothing terribly exciting. But they did the right thing. They had Raquel standing strong. She didn't shy away. She wasn't left laying. She wasn't overpowered. She wasn't outmatched or outclassed. This is the first time since Rhea Ripley beat Charlotte to win the championship at WrestleMania that she is in the ring with somebody who is physically as big or bigger than her. Someone who also has a great deal of power and can do things in the ring that a lot of the other women on the roster simply can't do because they're not as big and as strong as she is. This is not somebody we're used to seeing Rhea Ripley in the ring with. In fact, if you look at what they have done with Rhea since WrestleMania, it's been pretty fucking bad. Now, she's attached to the Judgment Day, so she's getting a lot of FaceTime. She's on television every single week. She's out there in these main events, usually in their corner. But look at her actual reign as the women's champion so far. What has she done since WrestleMania? Natalya. That's about it. A couple of TV matches, right? She wrestled Candice, and she had a couple of other matches. She feuded with Natty. That's it. That's really all that she has done. That sucks. Her reign as women's champion so far has been a complete afterthought because they have not done a good job of building anybody up except maybe Raquel, and even it's kind of lukewarm. She's been out with this storyline injury now for a while. Raquel is not over. She may eventually get there. They got some work to do with her. I think she's very talented. I think she can get there, but she's not over. They hit her music. She comes out. The people really don't react much. They don't care. So they got to work on that. There's nobody else. There's nobody else. She's out there body slamming men. Like, there's no competition for her in the division. You know, the match to do would be, I guess, Becky and Rhea is what they're eventually building to, but they're probably holding off on that until WrestleMania. You know, they're not going to go to that next. So they've had a real issue with Rhea. Rhea is obviously one of the biggest names they have. Super over. But as far as the women's division on that show, I mean, come on, it's a fucking joke. It's an absolute joke. And if she was on SmackDown, it wouldn't be any different. Wouldn't be any different on SmackDown. She'd be in there with Zelina Vega, who's half her size. And Rhea would probably sell her ass off for Zelina. I probably a lot of people out there who wouldn't really see that as a very believable opponent for her. But Shotzi or you know, take your pick. I mean, they have to do a better job, I think, of creating credible challengers for Rhea. That's the issue. You have to take some of these women and you have to create someone who, when the fans look at them, they say, okay, she has a shot. You know, she does all these power moves and stuff. Is there anybody else on the roster who can match that and who may actually look like they have a shot outside of the usual suspects? You can't just keep going back to Charlotte Flair and Becky Lynch. You know, Rhea and Bianca is a match that they teased before WrestleMania. Now they're on different brands. They could always come back to it somehow. Bianca would be the other one. Bianca is incredibly strong, very athletic. Rhea Ripley and Bianca Belair would be the match to do. But I don't get the sense that that's anything they have planned because they're keeping them separate. Anyway, they re-aired the Terry Funk tribute video from SmackDown on Friday, which had someone doing the narration. They came back live, and Terry got a really nice ovation in Memphis, and he obviously has history in Memphis. Michael Cole dropped a reference on commentary to the empty arena match with him and Jerry Lawler, which actually took place over 40 years ago. 40 years. It's going to be 41 years this year. It's crazy. Speaking of Becky, we have our main event. It was Becky Lynch one-on-one, closing out the show in a Falls Count Anywhere match against Trish Stratus's protege, Zoey Stark. Of course, Becky and Trish are having their cage match on Payback on Saturday. Becky immediately hit Zoey with a kendo stick once the bell rang. Trish, this was my favorite part. I mentioned this earlier. So Trish Stratus is going to go for a chair, and she's going to give the chair to Zoey, but she's not just going to give it to her. She's going to throw it to her. Zoey wasn't expecting this chair, and so Zoey got clocked right in the head with it. And everybody in the audience reacted. They probably were, most of them were laughing. To Zoey's credit, she didn't sell it. She didn't grab her head like, you know. She kind of looked off like she was annoyed, but then she was like, all right, it's all good. Don't worry about it, because that wasn't supposed to happen. And Trish, starts throwing more chairs into the ring. But the way that Zoey just kind of stood there and looked off like, you got to be fucking kidding me here. It could have been a lot worse. I mean, look, she could have hit her in the eye. You know, she didn't see it coming. But now she got her right in the head with that chair. So then she gets more chairs, and they put more chairs in the ring. And she was rubbing her forehead a little bit after that, but it didn't look like there was no blood. She didn't look like she had like a big knot, a big lump on her head or anything like that. So she should be fine. So Zoey went to the ropes to superplex Becky, who knocked her to the apron. Zoey got back up. Becky hit her with a leg drop as she was draped over the apron, and then she covered her for 2. Becky went for a disarm her, and Stark shoved her face first onto the pile of chairs in the ring. Zoey went for her Z360 finish. Lynch blocked it, hit a manhandle slam. She had the win, but Trish ran in to break up the pin. So Becky left the ring to go chase after Trish, who picked up a kendo stick. Becky blocked a kendo stick shot, took it away from her. She worked over Trish with the kendo stick all the way up to the stage. Zoey followed. She hit Becky with a chair and covered her for 2 count on the stage. After a break, Becky was back in control, and she gave Zoey an exploder into the barricade for 2. Becky grabbed a table and the crowd popped, but Zoey drop kicked her. And Zoey hit Becky repeatedly with a chair. She put the chair on Lynch, who was inside the ring, and then from the apron, Zoey hit a twisting senton. So Becky came back, and Becky hits a superplex onto a chair. She sets up for a manhandle slam after this on top of the announce table. And Trish comes over, and Trish trips her up. So Becky fights both of them off momentarily, but Trish attacks her again, hits a Stratisfaction Bulldog off of, I guess, what would have been the table, the Timekeeper's table. Hits a Bulldog onto another table that is set up on the floor, kind of in the area where the barricade ends, and now you're in the crowd area. So she puts her through a table with the Bulldog. Zoey made a cover. Becky kicks out at 2. They fight into the crowd, and Becky starts fighting them both off. Zoey accidentally knocks Trish off of a platform that they had climbed up on. It wasn't very high. It wasn't like it was 15 feet in the air or anything, but there was some, I couldn't tell exactly what it was, some sort of platform. Probably revenge for getting hit in the head with a fucking chair. She accidentally knocks Trish off the platform. She goes backwards through a table. So now Becky's looking down at this. She can't believe it. Zoey has this shocked look on her face. Oh my God, what have I done? So we get this double shot of Becky and Zoey standing next to each other with shocked looks on their faces. Like Macaulay Culkin in the house in Home Alone, going like this. Then they turn to each other, and now Becky's like, I got you all to myself. She goes to give her a manhandle slam off the platform through another table. There'd just be tables sitting around everywhere around this place. They just have them strategically set up all over in case somebody has an itch to put somebody through one. So she puts Zoey through the table. She took a pretty hard bump through the table. Becky covers her and pins her to win the match. So again, Trish hitting Zoey, I can say that it was fucking hilarious because it doesn't look like Zoey got hurt. So if she had gotten hurt, I wouldn't say that. But she's okay. But yes, that was very funny. This turned into a pretty good match. They took some pretty big bumps. And Becky gets a big win now heading into her cage match with Trish, which hopefully will finally end this feud once and for all on Saturday. This needs to be the end, is what this needs to be. Right? Tonight we had Trish and Zoey not exactly on the same page. Not saying that there's now been a falling out. Zoey will probably be with her on Saturday, but Becky now gets Trish inside of a cage where nobody is supposed to be able to get in. Of course, you and I know better than that. But that's the object of a steel cage match. And beyond the cage match, where do you go from here? The cage match should be the blow-off. So this will be over as of Saturday. And the show ended with a shot of Becky. She was sitting on top of, well, maybe that's what they were on top of. Maybe that was the platform. But she was sitting on top of one of the equipment cases. And she removed her armband that had Bray's name on it. And she holds it up. And she just starts breaking down. And that was tough to watch. And that was the parting shot. The copyright box came up, and that's how they faded off. And you can tell, as everybody cheered, that obviously she was very emotional. And and so am I. And she just, she lost it at the end of the show. And I don't envy these men and women having to go out there on live television on Friday. And that was only a day after it happened. And even tonight, a few days later, to go out there on live television, and many of them knew Bray, many of them were friends with him, worked with him, were around him, knew his family, knew JoJo, maybe they knew his kids. And they have to go out there on live television and they have to perform. And they're surrounded by signs in the crowd. They're, sitting in the back there when they're playing that tribute video again on the screen. And they play his music and You got the rocking chair out there, and everybody's wearing the armbands, and there's just these constant reminders about Bray. And you've got to put that out of your mind. And you've got to go out there and you've got to perform. You got to get your game face on, and you have a job to do. And some of them were closer to him than others. And so it's not an easy thing to do. And obviously Becky was one of those people who was close to him, and she held it together until the very end, and then she just kind of lost it there at the end. So, but again, I enjoyed the main event more than I thought I would. And so now we head into Payback on Saturday. We have the final SmackDown on Friday. That'll be the true go-home show. To a pay-per-view that on paper looks solid, but unspectacular. I'm definitely not feeling the excitement for Payback the way that I did All In or even SummerSlam a few weeks ago. But sometimes those are the shows that end up over-delivering. You know, those are the shows, the ones that you go into and you're like on paper, like, all right, it's all right, but I'm not really sold on this. Maybe your expectations are kind of lowered. Sometimes those are the shows that end up surprising you the most. That's Payback on Saturday. Twitter poll. What do you guys think of Raw tonight? 64% thumbs up, 35.7% thumbs down. At Solomonster is where you can vote in all of these polls. Apparently, Becky cut a very heartfelt speech off the air when the show was over. So maybe there'll be fan footage of that pops up on YouTube somewhere. I wouldn't mind being able to see that. Hear what she had to say. I know CM Punk had a tribute the other night, I guess after the show was over, to Terry Funk. Seth Rollins actually at a live event a few days ago, might have been Friday night. He also broke down in the ring after his match, and I think he told them to turn the house lights down, and everybody in the crowd lit up their phones, you know, for the Firefly stuff. He had a very emotional speech as well about Wyndham. But clearly Becky and Becky and Seth both were really affected by the news. Let's start here with Chad's Black Eye with the $4.99. The only dirty sheets are the ones you probably haven't washed in 9 months, you slob. Find a laundromat. Solomonster 1. The other guy 0. Yeah, I feel sometimes on Twitter like I'm just surrounded for every rational, sane person who actually follows me and I interact with. There are double that number who don't follow me, but somehow end up in my mentions. I guess my stuff gets shared or reposted or whatever, and then people see it and they feel like they have an obligation to tell me why my opinion on things is wrong. And so sometimes I let it go a lot of times, but sometimes there's certain people who are so stupid, who are so very, very dumb, that you just can't help but respond. And I think I can honestly say, in the last 24 hours, I don't know that I have ever seen this many stupid, unintelligent, dumb tweets from people in my entire life. And it started with some stuff that I had posted about the Punk and the Jack Perry stuff, and all the Punk fans and the AEW diehards who, of course, don't like people talking about any drama whatsoever. You know, God forbid you should give your opinion on something on social media, and then they have to tell you why you're wrong, and why are you talking about this, and why, you know. Shut the fuck up. Who the fuck are you? Like, some of the people I heard from, I mean, seriously, the dregs of society. I don't know what rock these people are crawling out from. I'm trying to think, like, what life form are these people? But yeah, that guy in particular, what was his name? Fat guy, 6'2", something. His handle was like Fat Guy or Fat Man 62894. And then there was some other one, and I'm like, why am I wasting my time with these people? But man, I gotta tell you, I haven't seen this much stupidity on my timeline in a very long time. There are some stupid fucking people out there. Oh my God. Are there some stupid fucking people out there? Anyway, Joseph Brooks with the $9.99. With all of this recent Punk news and him yet again getting into more controversy, is it safe to say that Tony Khan is treating Punk like Vince used to treat Shawn Michaels by letting him get away with everything? Yes. Yes. That's exactly what's going on. He's getting preferential treatment because of who he is and because Tony Khan feels he needs CM Punk for Collision to be a success. And the fact is, if you go back and listen to what I said after the scrum last year, after what he did at Brawl Out and the way he embarrassed Tony and embarrassed the company, I said that Tony Khan should cut his losses and let CM Punk go. And of course, he didn't do that. And so it's like, all right, well, he's going to bring Punk back and he knows what he's getting. And we were talking about ideas for what Punk can do when he came back and everything like that. And, you know, there are times where he's working with certain people on television, whether it's Ricky Starks or Samoa Joe, and it's nice because he has something to contribute. But it was always inevitable that there was going to be more drama and that something else was going to happen. Apparently, this guy is unable to go to work and not beat up his coworkers. There's some issue going on here. So, look, I mean, I said it 9 months ago. Let the guy go. It's not worth the trouble. He chose to keep him. Well, you get what you pay for. So, apparently Tony Khan feels like it's worth all of the headaches and all of the hassle and all of the bullshit, even on the biggest day of the year, the biggest event in the history of his company. And that is how he had to open the media scrum when the event was over. He couldn't just come out and say, oh, this has been a great event for AEW, and we had 81,000 people, and, you know, we had the great main event. He came out, he talked about the 81,000 and said, basically, disclaimer, may as well just address the elephant in the room. There was an incident. There was an incident. It's under investigation. I can't say anything more. Another investigation, by the way. Another investigation. The only organization here that is going to end up with more special, what do they call them? Special counsels or, you know, we have all this government shit going on now. A special master, special prosecutor. Tony Khan has got to open all these special inquiries and investigations every year. Right around this time, by the way. It's almost Brawl Out, the anniversary. It is funny how that worked out. This is only going to continue. This is never going to stop. Apparently, he doesn't mind it. So, hey, it's his company. Let him deal with it. It ain't my company. I told you what I would have done. But I don't run that company. Krauser, I enjoyed Raw for the most part. Glad they are finally doing videos for Nakamura. Seeing fireflies in AEW and WWE. Everyone,
it's Samoa BRO.
Is why I am a wrestling fan. Hey, Samoa BRO. Thank you, Fire Panda. And thank you, Krauser. Thank you for the $5. Hey, Lady Fire Panda just gifted 10 channel memberships. Look at all these new members we got. Pop it up in the chat. Thanks to Lady Fire Panda. Thanks to Boots, too, by the way. I don't know if Boots is with us tonight. Boots set the all-time record yesterday during the All-In stream. 120 gifted memberships on one stream from one person alone. Should put Boots, I should put his name up like in the corner and just keep him there. It's like getting a Boots tattoo. We'll tattoo him on the screen. We got Base Beerus, thank you for the $2. Peter Cordieri wants to know, what's up, everybody? Peter dropping 5 after dropping his 50 spot earlier. This guy's showing off. There it is. There's the 50. The Winston Slip. Oh, 15. Okay, Fire Panda actually dropped 15 gifted memberships. I only saw the 10. 15. I stand corrected. The Winston Slip. Wade Barrett is a +2, the usual commentary wasteland. Rizzo with the 10. After what happened to Punk, I think all of us need a trusted buddy at work to make sure we get to events instead of asking strangers to help. Yeah, apparently he had to take the train to the stadium because there was nobody there waiting for, I guess, Winston, his chauffeur. hat and everything was not there waiting for him with a big sign that said Punk on it. Poor guy had to take the train. Oh, the horror. The horror. Oh, he had to take the train. Oh. What will he do? El Masse with the $25 super chat says CM Punk once again overshadowing a major pay-per-view with his antics. Guy needs a suspension. Keeps putting his hands on people. Getting up in their face. Guy's got issues. Arabian Night, Tony Khan's comments about Bryan running AEW was interesting. I guess he doesn't trust his EVPs or any AEW originals. I don't see Bryan as an AEW lifer. That was kind of interesting, where he told the Hollywood Reporter that he told his father if anything ever happens to him, if he gets hit by a bus or something, or he, is incapacitated in some way, that he should turn to Bryan Danielson to run the show. So he didn't say Kenny Omega. He didn't say the Young Bucks. Go to Bryan Danielson. I thought that was actually kind of funny. Rizzo, hell of a day on Twitter. First, the Punk having to get a ride from strangers because no one bothered sending him a driver, and seeing Solo take down a troll. There was a report from Alvarez earlier that Jack Perry and CM Punk may have been suspended pending the outcome of this investigation. I have not seen that confirmed by anyone else. We do not know if they are suspended or not. It's a mess for Tony Khan now because he has a Chicago show at the United Center in less than a week. So if CM Punk is not able to be on the pay-per-view in Chicago at the United Center, that's kind of a problem. But the appropriate action, if in fact he was responsible for, or at least partially responsible for what happened. And again, we're waiting on the final details. But if he got physical, or especially if he instigated the physicality, then he should be suspended immediately. That would be the correct course of action. But we do not yet know if anybody has been suspended. So let's wait and see how that plays out. Hey, Near, good to see you, brother. Thank you. Casper the Barbarian. Look at that, our second Barbarian mention of the night. Solo whooping tricks. Didn't see that coming. That's what I do, man. I've been doing it all day on Twitter. Base Beerus, I got a mixtape I need you to check out. Got a mixtape? Really? Tuxedo says in the chat, he says, Miro came out and said Perry did not start the fight. Oh, I know that because I have two eyeballs that still work pretty well. And I made a comment. That was the tweet that got me all of these dumbass replies all day long from people who apparently, reading comprehension is not their thing. And what happened, for those who don't know? For those who don't know. During the show last night, there were a lot of people, a lot of wrestling news Twitter pages that were tweeting stuff about the Punk and Perry stuff. One tweet in particular, I think it might have been from Wrestle Purists or something. It's one of these accounts that just posts stuff and has a ton of followers. Tweeted out a version of the story that Jack Perry is the one who physically instigated the altercation with CM Punk. He made first contact. Punk was basically defending himself and put him in a choke. That's the tweet that Miro chose to respond to and quote tweet, and he posted something to the effect of, this is false, this is not true, this is like fake news, basically. So then I posted, when I saw that later on, I posted a tweet that said, good on Miro for putting his name on it publicly and saying something if that is in fact not what happened, because that flew in the face of the initial reports that made Punk look like he was the victim here. And it was Perry who got physical first. And if that isn't true, and Miro, maybe he was there. I don't know if he was there or not. He wasn't on the show. We actually don't know if he was even at the stadium or not. But if somehow he knows and he said, look, this is not the accurate version of what happened, good on him for putting his name on it and saying so. Well, if I tell you how many tweets I got today from people saying, way to put words in Miro's mouth, That's not what he meant. You're a hater. And you're, you obviously misread what he said. Really? I misread what he said. It's funny. I mean, it seemed pretty clear to me what he was referring to. He was referring to the version of the story that had Perry as the aggressor. The little Punk kid who got physical with Punk, and Punk was just defending himself. I mean, is that not the version of events that he was tweeting about? That was the tweet that he responded to. But apparently, these AEW accounts, they were very upset with me, and they said that I misunderstood. They said I don't know what I'm talking about. I told you, the amount of brain rot that I saw on that platform today. I think that if Elon Musk made it a requirement to take an IQ test in order to use Twitter, you had to be above a certain level, Twitter would have maybe 98 users. That's the problem. I think people should be forced to take an IQ test before they use these social media platforms. It would weed out a lot of these people. But then you wouldn't have anybody left. You'd have very few people left. So yeah, that was kind of funny. I was aware of the Miro thing and tweeted about it. And yes, I got a lot of very stupid tweets in response. Base Beer says, Seth knew to keep the wardrobe classy with the tribute. The Mount Vernon kid, Christopher Bennett. Crazy week for wrestling fans. Terry Funk and Bray Wyatt. Game show fans, Bob Barker. And for geeks, we lost Arlene Sorkin, the original Harley Quinn voice. And for me, I represent all three categories. Elijah, yeah, I know you're smart. You're good, man. Your IQ is off the charts. So you're good. You're good. Fire Panda says Solomonster sounds off, sponsored by WWE. Yeah, that was the other one. I got a couple of dumb ones on the YouTube comments as well. I don't know where these people come from. I really, do these people really exist? It's hard for me to imagine, but I guess they must. I guess they do, unless it's all part of a gimmick of something. I think because I made a few complimentary comments at the beginning of the All In review, right? Fuck me, by the way, for doing that. I made a few complimentary comments about the show or about the crowd, and there were a couple of comments in there about, you should probably put like a spoiler on there, like you're sponsored by AEW. Oh yeah, you're sponsored by AEW. Never say anything negative about AEW. Really? That must be news to Tony Khan. I seem to be going off on him every fucking week. Fucking idiots. Rizzo, my view on Punk. Usually if drama and controversy follow someone around, maybe they are the reason for the problems. Yeah, you would think. You would think so.
Look, everyone, it's
Samoa Bro. Fire Panda thing. The Winston Slip, thank you for being the Iron Man of streams this week. Well, you're very welcome. Super Pony, better John Cena feud, Kevin Owens or AJ Styles? Both very good, but I gotta go AJ. Beat up John Cena. That's the better of the two. Dr. Bropio, it's not paranoia, it's the Pepsi. Told you. Fire Panda with the 20 says, we like to talk about how tribalistic wrestling fans are, but I think the tribalism with AEW fans when drama happens with Punk is just as bad, but it's more entertaining. Also, stop hating on Punk, you hater. I know. Yeah, no, the AEW fans are fucking terrible. They're just fucking awful. Just, ugh. I don't know, there's something wrong with them. There's something seriously psychologically wrong with them. I mean, I used to think the Impact fans were bad back in the day, like the Soldiers. Remember the TNA Soldiers? I used to think they were bad. I would happily join their army. I'd be their new general. We'd march into combat on the AEW guys. They look like some perfect angels compared to some of these AEW fans. They don't take criticism very well. It's something I have noticed when it comes to their beloved AEW. Rizzo says, so you must be carrying WWE's water this week. I guess so. I'm usually carrying one pail in one hand and the other pail of water in the other hand. That's how I get these big biceps of mine. I'm carrying these heavy pails of water all day long. Build upper body strength that way. You never say anything negative about AEW, man. But you shit on WWE all the time. Keep sucking Tony Khan's dick, man. Come on, man. Keep sucking Tony Khan's dick. I mean, this is how I picture them in my head. Fucking idiots. Is that all they do is they sit there and they just make shit up in their fucking heads that doesn't actually exist? If you have an intelligent fucking comment to make, my God, I mean, maybe I'll engage you. But stop wasting my time. That's the thing that gets me. I mean, do they just sit around all day doing this shit? Is that literally all they have time to do? Do they do nothing else? They just sit there and they tweet stupid shit to me while their fucking mother makes them a goddamn fucking tuna sandwich in the room next door. And they yell, is the tuna ready, Mom? Where's the tuna, Mom? Let me tweet Solomonster some more. All day long with this fucking shit. Winston Slip Solo is the water boy of WWE and the Aquaman of AEW. Magician Sapphire says the backstage drama in AEW is going to continue until someone innocent gets hurt and then sues Tony Khan AEW, or it starts chasing away top talent from AEW. Red Emissary of Darkness, I have a migraine. I just want good wrestling. Jared Simmons, do you think Undertaker would have made a good Intercontinental Champion during any run that he had while he was active? No, I mean, I think he was above that. There was no need for him to have the Intercontinental title. Undertaker never really needed a title to begin with, but if he was going to be the champion, he was going to be the world champion. This is a guy who was the world champion a year into his run there. Him with the Intercontinental title, it might have been cool just to say that he held it, but he didn't need it. He didn't need it. There were other people on that roster who would have benefited from having it. He would have benefited, I mean, not at all. It wouldn't have done him any good because he was already elevated to a certain level. Darth Panic says, let Punk go back to WWE and try to choke out Brock or Solo. Fucking Solo Sikoa? Yeah, let him try that shit with some of the people on the WWE roster. Let him go try that on Drew McIntyre. Let him go try that on Roman Reigns. Or Brock Lesnar. See how that goes for you. Nier says, ignore the trolls. They are effing trolls. EAW on to 3. I wonder what someone like Bryan Danielson thinks of all the backstage issues that go down in AEW. He probably just shakes his head. He's probably embarrassed. Like, this is not what he joined the company for. He genuinely loves wrestling. It's fun for him. And I think he enjoys being able to contribute creatively behind the scenes. And Tony Khan sees that, which is why he made the comment, if anything ever happens to him, go to Bryan Danielson. So when he hears this and sees stuff like this going down, it probably makes him sick. Like, what are you guys doing? Like, it just reflects poorly on the company. You know, and he seems to really care about AEW. So if you really care about that company, you see shit like this is going to make you sick. Rizzo says, just as a reminder, if you you need someone to talk to, go to better. Oh, if trolls make you angry and you need someone to talk to, go to BetterHelp. It's not keywords, Solomonster. It's BetterHelp.com/Solomonster. There's no keyword. This is not AOL. And Paul Carpenter. Why are CM Punk fans a Solomonster hater? That's right, you can turn that super chat around. You can turn it the other way around. Why do CM Punk fans hate Solomonster? They don't. Most normal, rational ones do not. They know that my comments do not come from a place of hate. They come from a place of looking at the various situations that have unfolded, recognizing that it's a real shame this is someone who has something to contribute to this company. And this is still a big name and can do big things for AEW. But at some point, you need to weigh the benefits of that against everything else that is going on. This is now becoming a punchline. This company is becoming a punchline. And it's not because of most of the people that you saw on that card last night. You know, again, Jack Perry made the comment that he made into the camera during the match. Should he have done that? Probably not. But CM Punk seems to be very easily triggered by comments that his colleagues make. Comments, words that they speak. And then he feels the need to get up in their face and challenge them to physicality. Which, as a professional in a work environment, is not something that you should be doing. I don't know if he's trying to prove that he's tough. Like, this is the way that you handle business. You come, we'll come face to face. Let's go outside and handle it like men. Hey, if that's the way you want to handle your business, but that's not the way I think that, you want to be conducting business on a regular basis by going and beating people up that you're supposed to be working with. But when Tony Khan decided to isolate everybody and put them all in their little corners, instead of trying to find some kind of remedy to this situation, the remedy would be to part ways with the person involved. That would have been the smart thing to do from day one, but he didn't do that. He didn't have the balls to do that. So now he's on his second investigation. This is the second investigation. And if, in fact, the rumor today is true, and it turns out that Punk is temporarily suspended from AEW, that's his second suspension in less than a year. You really think that something like this isn't going to happen again? You really think rolling that grenade, pulling the pin and rolling the grenade into the room, it's not eventually going to explode? Red Emissary says, I need a break. And he says, goodbye to the chat. Red Emissary, I love you, brother. Hopefully I will see you back here for Dynamite or maybe SmackDown later on in the week, because we still got a couple more streams yet to come this week. Been pumping out a lot of content, so I hope you guys have been enjoying it. We had the podcast as well this weekend, episode 823. I've been going pretty much 5 days straight. I get a little bit of a respite tomorrow, and then it's right back at it again on Wednesday, because we got Dynamite. And then SmackDown on Friday, and we have 2 pay-per-views this weekend. We have Payback on Saturday night. We have episode 824 on Sunday. Sunday night is All Out, which may or may not have CM Punk on the show. Trill Mexican, thank you for the 7. You have been banned by CM Punk from Collision. You are no longer allowed on the show. And then even after next weekend, we got Gable and Gunther on Raw next Monday. So, a lot of content. Trill Mexican says, if I don't see on Pro Wrestling Tees Is the tuna ready, mom, on a t-shirt or as a super chat? I'm going on strike with Solomonster. LOL, just joking. That had me laughing at work. Yeah, he doesn't like olives on his sandwich. He doesn't like olives. He doesn't like red onion. He gets very upset with mom if she puts it on there by accident. So I hope for her sake that she makes the sandwich the correct way. Otherwise, Timmy will get very upset. Cyrus, what is that? Cyrus's guitar and lift. Solo should show a picture of Old Spice to scare off the Twitter trolls. A picture of Old Spice. Scody Clash with the $9.99. Every time I see or think about Bray, there's usually a split second before I remember that he is really gone. It just feels so wrong. That is actually from Abyssal Zones. I transposed 2 of the super chats here. So Abyssal Zones, thank you for that. And yes, it still is very surreal. Scody says, it has become really hard to be a fan of CM Punk this past year. He cannot keep his opinions to himself and starts unnecessary drama. Why can't we just talk about the success of what AEW just had? Here's the other issue I'll throw out there. And again, we don't have all of the details yet. But if we take these stories at face value about what may have happened backstage, it almost doesn't even matter who instigated the physicality, but especially if it was Punk who did. But even if it was Jack Perry, how old is Jack Perry? I don't have his age in front of me. I know he's very young. He's probably mid to late 20s, right? He's a young kid. CM Punk is nearly in his mid 40s. Okay, he's probably a good 15 years, at least 15 to 20 years older than Jungle Boy. You would think that he would know better because he's the adult in the room and he's the professional. He's the guy, he's the veteran who's been doing this for so long. You would think that he would know well enough on the day of AEW's biggest show of all time, even if he doesn't like this guy and he thinks he's being a little snot-nosed punk, mouthing off on television the way he did into the camera, that he would know well enough not to go starting shit when he's about to walk out to open the show for his match with Samoa Joe. This all happened moments before he went to the ring for his match. That's the thing I don't understand. What is it in this guy's brain that makes him the way that he is? He got a second chance to come back. He got put on his own show that he basically gets to run creatively, evidently. He gets to basically call the shots there on who's on the show, who's not on the show, who he works with, who he doesn't work with. He gets to work with his friends, FTR, CM, He gets to work with all these different people, Jay White, Ricky Starks, Samoa Joe. He's got his own little real world title over there. He gets to, it's like he's an unofficial EVP. And he still goes and does shit like this when there has to be an adult in the room and he just isn't capable of being the adult in the room. He goes on and on and on about the children that he works with and then proceeds to go out and act like a child. So that's part of the problem. And I just don't understand it. I really just don't understand it. Hey, Brandon, thank you for the $7. And Arabian Night says, nice Easter egg on Rollins' title with the Fiend plates. I did show that earlier. I got a picture of that up. And Larry Jester, Mommy must have left the crust on the sandwiches. Maybe that's what did it. Maybe that's what pissed him off. Maybe that's what pissed off all the people on Twitter today. She didn't take the skin off the Frankfurter. Right? That's what they called them when I was a kid. It wasn't a hot dog. It was a Frankfurter. I don't want to choke. Can you take the skin off, please? Not having Punk at All Out would be bad, though. Well, look, it is what it is. It is what it is. They've already sold 10,000 tickets to the show. And if him not being there means people are going to want refunds, then you give him refunds. That's it. But you got to put your foot down at some point. Now would be a pretty good time. I don't know what you're waiting for. I don't know how many parallel investigations this guy wants going on at once. He might have to hire some kind of outside firm to come in to conduct all of these investigations. Near says, hey, TK, fool me twice, shame on me, right? The likes goal tonight was 400. And we have well exceeded 500. So thank you for that. That is very cool. And so 27-27 says Hot Shot, Punk MJF, Max wins, Fire Punk, and Suspend Jack. Yeah, look, I'm not saying that Jungle Boy, if he got physical, shouldn't also be punished here. I'm not saying he's absolved of any responsibility here. In fact, I was going off on him on the stream yesterday when it looked like he may have been the one to instigate things. So I'm not saying that, but I'm just saying this is not the first time we've heard this with Punk. That's the issue here. But, you know, we had CM Punk come back on Collision 2 months ago, and in his promo on TV, he was dropping little not so subtle digs and references at the Elite, right? The counterfeit bucks, little comments here and there. And I didn't even mind that, really. Why is Solomonster a Punk hater? Why does he hate Punk so much? What did he ever do to him? Hey, Hydrograd. I was waiting for that. I was shocked, by the way, between yesterday and today with all the Punk discourse that I didn't see. I don't remember seeing any of the $40 Punk ones. But there you go. Hydrograd with the $40. Since we're on the subject, he says. Hey, Hydrograd, man, thank you very much. What I was going to say is, you know, for a guy who himself goes on television his first night back,
Samoa BRO
is talking about counterfeit bucks and you know, I'm one Bill Phil with the network, and, you know, dropping all these little digs, and then off the air a few weeks ago making cracks about Hangman Page, which apparently came out wrong. That was the follow-up report. Oh, it didn't come out right. It didn't come out the way that he wanted it to. Like it was fucking diarrhea or something, right? It didn't come out right. He has no problem making comments. And a lot of his fans, I'm sure they love it, right? They lap that shit up. I wouldn't necessarily mind it either if he didn't then turn around at the slightest comment that somebody else makes and then go over to them in the locker room like he wants to have, you know, fucking Fight Club. It's the very definition of he can dish it, but he can't take it. One little comment that Jungle Boy made into the camera, and that's what sets him off. Now, it's okay for him to do it, but it's not okay for anybody else to make a snide remark. He can dish it, but he can't take it. That's basically what it is. Can't have it both ways. Either nobody makes any comments whatsoever and everybody has to shut up and they're not allowed to make any comments, no little subtle digs, or you can just take the gloves off and let everybody say whatever the fuck they want. But it can't be a situation where it's, you know, rules for thee, but not for me. Magician Sapphire with the $5 says ego. It's Punk's massive freaking ego. He's probably so used to being praised and worshipped that he can't take even the slightest amount of disrespect. Scotty says, I've gotten banned from Collision for my comments. Well, that was bound to happen. I was banned from Collision weeks ago. We're going to have to start our own show. I think Miro is banned from Collision after his tweet. Poor Miro. He just got back on television. Now he's banned from Collision. He's going to have to go back to Dynamite and play video games with Kip Sabian. Anyway, like I said, we hit the goal. Let's be the booker.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is now time to be the booker.
Miguel, yeah, I think there were fights that Punk got into in Ring of Honor. I don't remember offhand what they were, but yes, I think he had some fights with people back then as well. I just don't remember about what. Seems like a very angry person. Be the Booker. Let's be the Booker. Let's take a little respite here real quick. Do something fun. We went 3 for 3 on the stream last night, which was awesome because it was one of the biggest streams of the year. So it would have been pretty bad if we would have gone 0 for 3. Let's see if we can replicate that here tonight. We begin with the Indie God, the King of the Deathmatch, Matt Cardona. He's been killing it on the Indies. He's got like 7 different championships. He is the reigning House of Glory World Heavyweight Champion, in fact. It's funny here, you know, be the booker. I mean, hey, as the commissioner, I have literally been booking Matt Cardona on some shows. Now I get to book him here on my own stream. Matt Cardona is going to be taking on Kenny Omega. Hey, I'd love to have that match in House of Glory. Hey, Tony Khan. He might not be too fond of me lately, but Tony Khan, let's make it happen. I want to borrow Kenny Omega for a show. You think we can make that happen? I got my birthday coming up in October. Maybe for our October show, we can do Kenny Omega and Matt Cardona for the HOG World Heavyweight title. What do you think about that? I like the sound of that. Just pick up the phone and call me. We'll make it happen. All right, over on the ladies' side, we begin with one half of the former Iconics. All right, we had Billy Kay, and here we go. This is not Billy Kay. I almost said Billy Kay. It's not Billy Kay. All right, here we go. One-on-one with Jamie Hayter. There you go. How about that? Poor Jamie Hayter. Missing from Wembley Stadium. I felt bad for her. That would have been a big night for her. Too bad she couldn't at least make an appearance. But yes, Jamie Hayter one-on-one with Peyton Royce. I guess, was it Cassie Lee in Impact? I guess it was Cassie Lee when she was in Impact. 2 for 2. Man, could we actually go back-to-back days? 3 for 3. I think that would be a first. We begin with the Usos. The former undisputed tag team champions, Jimmy and Jay. No longer together. The Usos. One of the best tag teams in the modern era. WWE or any promotion. Usos against Booker T and Goldust. I enjoyed Booker T and Goldust. That was a good period there. All the segments we got with those two, they had great chemistry together. Big babyface tag team. People love Booker T and Goldust. Booker T and Goldust against the Usos. And we have gone 3 for 3 in Be the Booker. I'm on a roll, guys. We're heading on into September. We're closing out August in the strongest possible way. Now, we have one stream left in August. It would be awesome if we can do 3 for 3 on Wednesday as well. That, I know we've never done that before. But I'm pretty sure this is the first time we've ever done 3 for 3 back-to-back. So if we can do that again on Wednesday, then it'll be a party. Booker of the Year. Thank you. Thank you. Tony Khan, take a seat. This is the Booker of the Year right here. Oh. We are back at 500. Okay. Oh, good. I'm going to get the Meltzer Award in the Observer. I can't wait. Meltzer is going to make me the Booker of the Year. Do I get any prize money for that? No? Well, then I don't give a shit. All right, so I'm going to be live with you on Wednesday. That is going to be the final stream for the month of August. So let's close this month out in a big way. I hope to see you all back here then. we got SmackDown on Friday night. Again, I'm going to be live on YouTube Saturday night for Payback. We have 2 podcasts coming up on Sunday, the regular podcast and then the All Out review. Unfortunately, I kind of enjoyed being able to watch AEW earlier in the day and go live on YouTube at like 5:30. That was kind of nice. 5 o'clock stream. Unfortunately, I'm sure All Out will be probably after midnight, but we'll do it all over again next weekend, and you guys know the drill. You know where to come back to as we continue on our march to 75,000 subscribers. Let's try to get there as quickly as possible. Hydrograd just got banned from Collision. Says, just received word that I am officially banned after my last Super Chat. Well, I'm sorry to hear that, but it was bound to happen. We've had a lot of people banned from Collision over these last 48 hours, so all I can tell you is join the club. Sleep? I wish. I wish. Tell my body that. Am I on Threads? I am. Threads is very, it's just like a dead platform, but I am on Threads. On Threads, it's the Solomonster, not just Solomonster. So basically, it's my Instagram handle. So if you want to follow me on Threads, I do post some stuff there, but the Solomonster would be the handle on there. Yeah, but I don't think the Thread stuff has taken off in the way that they had hoped that it would. All right, be well. Stay safe. Thank you, as always, for all the love, the memberships, the super chats, and just hanging out with me here on a Monday night. I will see you guys back here on Wednesday. Until then, try not to get banned. I'll see you Wednesday. Oh, did I miss Rizzo? Okay. No, you know what? I missed a few. Thank you for getting my attention. I missed a couple of them here. I didn't scroll all the way up in my window, and so I missed a few more super chats, and I can thank Lady Fire Panda for reminding me of that. So thank you for that. James Cooper says, what happens when you're running on 3.5 hours of sleep? This is what happens. James Cooper with the 1999. I miss James, too. I didn't just miss Rizzo. Nakamura feels the most dangerous that he has in years. Miz feels like more than just the reliable guy in this story. Seth and Cody seem to be the guys to carry WWE for the next 5 to 10 years. Let's hope they create more stars. I just hope that his back can hold out. If Seth's back really is all messed up, I don't know, 5 more years with a bad lower back? 2 fractures in his lower lumbar? I hope so. Rizzo with the 20. I am with 2727. Do that at All Out and cut their losses with Punk. Also have Hook destroy Jungle Boy and write him off for a while. You in the chat have cheered me up after a crappy weekend for all wrestling fans. I mean, I hope Rizzo didn't bow out here. Thinking, man, he forgot about me. Rizzo, if you're in the chat, just say hello. I want to make sure you're still with us. Then I would feel bad if you left. Arabian Knight says, want to see Punk step to someone like Roosh or Jake Hager. Oh, if he steps to Roosh, he's going to be picking his fucking teeth up off the floor. That's what he's going to be doing. I think he would know better than to do that. And Hydrograd, again, thank you for the 7. Very much appreciated. Is Rizzo still with us? I don't see Rizzo here. Man, Rizzo. Or is Rizzo not usually in the chat? Well, anyway, Rizzo, thank you. I did get to your super chat. Thank you to everybody else. I appreciate that. Fire Panda, thank you for the heads up. See you guys Wednesday.